So in July 2020, we harvested 8 pounds. In July 2021, we harvested 8 pounds. But would 2022 break the record? Would we end our 8-pound streak? Sort of. It's the end of July and we need to wrap up our harvest because we need to talk numbers. And I'm sure you, like me, need a little bit of inspiration, maybe a little bit of motivation to finish out the summer so that we can get into our fall vegetable gardening, which is like the part where we start to actually get like lots of good numbers again, instead of what's going on, which is me melting outside. Maybe that's just a me thing. So today what we're gonna do, we're gonna wrap up our July harvest. We'll go away, get final numbers for July. I'll give you both how much pounds, how much money saved, plus I'm getting updated dollar amounts so that I can actually share the difference that I'm seeing between my 2020 pricing versus my 2022 pricing. And we can see how much of a difference there is, because I told you before it was pretty conservative because we've got inflation. So now we can see each pound, how much more is it really worth? So we'll talk about that. And of course, if you're feeling like you're losing focus because of the heat, the exhaustion, no worries. I will of course give you tips like I did last time so that you can stay focused as we go into the month of August and not die. Don't die. It's hot. It's so hot. Okay, so let's get going. Let's wrap up this harvest. So it's July and I'm gonna be going and harvesting some peppers today, maybe some tomatoes, a few tomatoes probably, and maybe beans. We have so many peppers, like a lot. Good harvest, right? There's still ones that are growing, so probably about a pound or two here and another couple pounds if I harvested them all right now. But a lot of them, especially like the Cubanelles, I'm gonna let them get bigger because I can. And who needs like 1,000,000 pounds of peppers all at once? So one of the things that's been doing really well, there are many things not going so well, but there's one thing that I feel like is going really, really well, that year over year it's gone a lot better. And that has been my peppers. Specifically these Cubanelles. I did not have Cubanelles last year and they are doing amazing. So I'm excited to kind of get this July harvest because what I feel like happened is we got done with June and the tomatoes kind of went, but the peppers were like, well, at least the ones that were in the shadier area and that were a little bit more spicy. So let's grab these Cubanelles. Come here. I'm not even half done. Look at this. Can you see all of these Cubanelles in here? I'm gonna get these harvested. Plus I got some jalapenos, a little bit of grandma conies, not a ton. And yeah. I feel like that's a pretty good pepper harvest. And one of the Grand Marconis bounced back. These look okay. Cubanelles are definitely. So we got next, we're gonna grab, there's an eggplant. Eggplant with one little one coming along. I'm not very happy with my eggplant, but the plant's doing okay. So it's definitely worth letting it continue because they will produce in the fall, but it's not like doing a good job right now. But onward, because it's hot and I'm going to melt. So here we go. Let's keep going. Grab our eggplant. One eggplant, just one. And one of the reasons why this Grand Marconi might have bounced back, I don't tend to like put amendments beyond mulch on most of my garden, but I made a ton of vegetable stock, like a ton. And I did not have room in my freezer. So I ended up taking some of my vegetable stock and just dumping it on this bed. And it may be why a few of the pepper plants bounced back. A few totally just died out on me. But it may be why some, because there were some actually pretty good jalapenos that came on this one plant. And I think that's where I put a lot of vegetable stock. So if you can't get to all your vegetable stock quickly, impromptu liquid fertilizer. Okay, next we're gonna go and clean up. We're gonna harvest some tomatoes. We're just gonna clean up some tomatoes because these bugs, these stink bug things, they are destroying my crop. I don't know if you can see them up there. Nasty little buggers. So every tomato plant kind of slowed down. Some still kept producing. I got grape tomatoes so far. I've gotten more of these 4th of July early ones. And then there's been some Everglades tomatoes. They keep putting on growth, so I think they may be good to go into the fall, but we'll have to evaluate that. But there's not a ton to harvest in July. The heat came on, they all were just like, peace, we're not gonna make you anything. Which is okay. I don't wanna make anything out here either. If you are sad and you think like, I'm a bad gardener, and you're thinking to yourself, I can't grow anything, look at this. Look at how pitifully sad this is. Goodbye, be fertilizer. Like, things happened. I couldn't even get these early. But we'll just reseed. Oh, it smells like it's rotting. Ugh, that's bad. Bad. See, like, I'm getting some tomatoes. They look stressed. And when I say they look stressed, they're like not looking nice and full and round. They're all like pulling in on themselves. Like, they're just not, they're not happy. So don't be beating yourself up if you're not getting a ton of tomatoes right now. Me neither. Me neither. But if you are, what kind of tomatoes? When did you plant them? How are you doing it? We must know. Because all those tomatoes I harvested last month, I made salsa. Because we needed to use up the jalapenos and a lot of tomatoes quickly. And I made salsa and I canned it. And I think I did a good job. And I think we've used up half the salsa. We made like 8 pints of it. And I think we're already half done with it. It's really good. It's really good. Our orchids are still going. Here we go, a month later. Still looking good. 3 branches worth. That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot. Honestly, it's been overwhelming. There was just so many tomatoes last month, and then these ones were just going bad so fast. Oh, look, one. Here's one. One happy little Everglade tomato. Boop. All right, other arch, onward. I stepped on some more pumpkin again. This one looks good. This one. Okay, so overall, this is very disappointing harvest. Mostly what I've found is moldy Cherokee black beans. So that's not gonna be a sexy shot, but there are always silver linings to dark clouds. And one of the things that's happening is the Puerto Rican black bean plant growing and growing, doing its thing, filling in all over the place. And I just saw we have our first flower, which is super, super exciting. So come yonder. I get out of shot a little. Look at that, it's huge. So pretty, but it's pretty. And if we can start getting some beans soon from this plant, we'll take it. Okay, I'm giving up on tomatoes. We're just gonna call it quits on tomatoes because life. All right, now we're gonna grab some green onions because Ben needs some for a recipe this week. Did you know you could use sunflower stalks as a flour alternative? Not like flowers like flowers, but like bread type flour. Except I heard you can't use it for like yeast-based products. You need to use it for like non-yeast products. So like tortillas. I'm thinking like pita, stuff like that. So I'm gonna harvest it. We'll count it into the pound so I have a record of it this year. I might be too late because everyone I saw I've only seen 2 people ever harvest it. Both of them had it when it was greener. Clearly the ones that are brown, I'm just taking down because like they're dead. But the ones that aren't, I'm gonna see. And what I think could be really cool is because growing wheat here in Florida never seemed like a good use of space for lots of reasons, but using sunflower flour may be like a really great flour alternative. Not that we're going to replace all of our stuff, but like having, just like the more you have, the better. And if you got something that can be a 2-for-1, it's all good. Oh, also I need to go ask Ben if he needs more sweet potato greens because we've been using the sweet potato greens, the little baby ones, for our smoothies again because it's at that time of year where they're really good to do that. And oh, I found more black beans I hadn't picked. Jeez, they are so hard sometimes to find. But you see, ooh, so bad. Okay, so let's go harvest sunflower heads and sunflower stalks. And then I think then we should be good for this month's harvest. And we'll see what we see. So it's supposed to be this white part on the inside. The last of it. Okay, so now we're gonna get all of this in before I melt, and then I'll weigh everything, and then we'll come back with totals, updated numbers, etc., and we'll talk lessons learned, observations, and things you should focus on for August / what I'm focusing on for August. So in July 2020, we harvested 8 pounds. In July 2021, we harvested 8 pounds. But would 2022 break the record? Would we end our 8-pound streak? Sort of. I feel like, so the answer is technically yes, but I kind of feel like it's cheating. So you know that in the last couple of years, summer has not been my strong suit when it's come to harvesting food. And I've been trying to figure out things to do differently. And clearly our classic vegetable plants, not happy at all. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk about how much I harvested, how much money I saved, and we're gonna talk about updated pricing, because I've gone through my local grocery store and I've updated all the things that I normally have in my little cost tracker to see how much more am I saving because inflation. And what we're also gonna cover is some lessons learned, plus the things that we need to focus on in August so that we can get lots and lots and lots of pounds. So our total number for the month of July is 13 pounds. Woo! I mean, it's 5 pounds more than the other years, but I feel like, well, the big majority of it was those sunflower stalks. And once we dehydrate, well, one, if the whole thing works with like cutting out the inside and making it into flour works, it's not gonna actually equal 7 pounds of flour replacement. And it was a thing I figured out. It wasn't like a thing I had intended on doing. So it feels a little like cheating. It probably isn't cheating, but I'm just saying in my heart of hearts, it kind of feels like it. So if we were going by more classic vegetable standards, it's 5 pounds, which means we actually did worse this year. Now, one of the things I think is driving that is it's just hotter. Is it me? It's just hotter, but it's just hotter this summer. So I feel like that's just kind of suppressing things where we would have gotten some more eggplants, we would have gotten more tomatoes. At least earlier in the month, we kind of, as soon as July 1st hit, it was like, nope, we are done. So many of the plants just kind of like, they grew, but they didn't grow anything that we're gonna eat. And there might have been a little bit more food that was something that I could harvest, except it was just so hot. I didn't want to go out there to harvest. So like things like you saw, tomatoes rotting on the vine, because I was just over it. I was over it, they were over it, we're all over it. I am okay with us moving on into fall, but we've got a whole month left, so there you go. So of course I'm using my tracker, my handy dandy Wild Floridian garden planner. If you want to get this, you can go to www.wildfloridian.net/planner. It's on discount for the balance of the year. Who doesn't love a sale? So while we did not get a lot of pounds, we actually still harvested 7 different crops, which I feel like is a thing we should be proud of. So the number one thing that I harvested that got us lots of pounds was, of course, 7 pounds, 13 ounces of sunflower stalks. And like I said, I don't know if those should really count. Please let me know your feelings on that, but that's what it is. I have not gone and measured my sunflower seeds because that's just going to take way too long, and I wanted to get this video done. So, you know, we'll get that and I'll give you an update later on how much it is. But sunflower seeds are super light, so I don't foresee that being like, oh my God, that was 100 pounds. It'll probably be like a pound at best. Honorable mention though to tomatoes. We're back at like a pound, but you know what? They didn't really want to grow right now, at least not any fruit. So I'm like, good job, tomatoes. Good job. You hung in there. You put out a little something and I grabbed it. And it was only like a little bit of this and that. It was like almost like a tomato per type of plant. Like Bonnie's Originals finally put out a tomato. It was very sad. I think I got a small lemon boy. I got a couple off of that like 4th of July early tomato, the one that I'm recommending that we plant for fall. But generally those little bugs got to all the tomatoes and it's just like, bleh, no. Bye. And we got a little bit of Everglades tomatoes, but it takes a lot to really add up. And then there really just isn't that much else. I mean, 3 ounces of green onions, 3 ounces of eggplant, 6 ounces of sweet potato greens. I mean, there just really wasn't a lot happening this month. I feel bad. I wish I could come back like I have the last few months and be like, oh my gosh, 100 pounds. I feel like every month I should be coming back like, oh my God, I can't believe it. How many pounds we grew. But I mean, just really July and August and September, I'm really gonna just prep you. It's not gonna be as exciting, but that doesn't mean we have stuff we can't learn. Because what I did do this month is I went back to my local grocery store and I updated all the pricing in my little Excel sheet to see how much is inflation saving me. So let's talk about inflation. Remember, I committed to you guys I would get updated pricing so that we could talk about how much money am I actually saving? Because I told you a lot of the cost per pound that I was using came from 2020. Not even 2021, 2020. So when we were hearing about inflation and things going up in price, we heard about like recently, if you're not up to date on the news, is that groceries are generally costing 10% more year over year. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. I think last month it was 8% year over year up. So it's a lot of money. So what I did is I went to the grocery store and I took lots of notes on all the different prices. And then I put it into my calculator. I took basically the pounds that I had harvested and how much money I saved with the old 2020 pricing. And then I put in the new ones and then saw how much money. And then that was like my inflation. So if you want to know how I did my calculation, and that basically showed that I am saving actually 7% more on my groceries than I thought I was, which is kind of right in line with the inflation that we've seen this year. But there were some really interesting things as I was going through and comparing the prices. Some things didn't change a cent. Some of those items, sweet potatoes, absolutely the same exact price that we got from 2 years ago, which was amazing. Why? I have no idea. I'm just telling you what the numbers say. Green onions was exactly the same, eggplant and garlic. Absolutely no changes. Now, when it comes to these few that have not seen any inflation impact, they're exactly the same price. I mean, down to the cent. So what was interesting was also to see what went up, but not like a double digit up. And the kind of pattern I was seeing, things like bananas, tomatoes, onions, these are more of those kind of crops that we use in our diet all the time. So them even going up a little bit, it impacts us a lot because we use a lot of them. So bananas was up 6%, tomatoes were up 8%, onions were up 3%. And with things like I was talking about with the garlic, onions, I also wonder again if this crop has really felt the full impact of inflation, because one timing of harvest, you know, we were coming out of the spring as we were starting to see a lot of the cost impacts. And I do know, like, if you watch TikTok, there's an onion farmer on there. He was talking about price increases last year before the things that we had going on this year. So I'd be curious to see if onions go up again. Now, there were some that went up and they were double digit. And I'm not even just talking like, oh, they were 11%. No. Spinach up 15%. Carrots up 29%. Limes up 55%. Now you may be wondering, why the heck do I track limes? I don't grow limes here, but I do eat calamandins. And Ben and I use our calamandins as a lime juice replacement. So if you were taking limes and freshly squeezing them, that's what I use my calamansis for. 55% up. That's crazy. And similar, oranges up 56%. And then I think really impactful for this month, right? We talked about my big harvest was like basically peppers, and I mostly was cubanelles. And peppers were up at a minimum of 43%. And I actually use bell pepper pricing to just like as a big grouping for all my pricing, but things like Cubanelles were even up higher. And one of the higher staple type crops that I saw in here that was really up was pumpkins, up 69%. That's a lot. So what are my takeaways from all these price increases? So what did it actually do to my totals for the year? So we harvested 13 pounds for this past month, 13 pounds. And we actually saved about $25 using the old pricing. But once I adjusted everything for the year to date, we basically have saved just under $800 from our grocery bill by growing it ourselves. And we're at 424 pounds total. Really didn't go up a lot, but it inched up, we'll take it. You may be wondering, so what does this mean when it comes to inflation at the grocery store? Well, what it's really saying is the classics is where the inflation's really hitting. Yes, there were plants that, you know, like a lime, yes, they're up a lot, but how much lime juice do you actually use, or how many limes do you eat? And I think that's always goes back to what should you grow? You really need to consider how much do you use? Because I don't use a ton of carrots. So it being up 29%, you know, in the scheme of things, going from something like $1 per pound to $1.29, not a huge impact on my life. But bananas going up even 6 cents is like, oh, we use hundreds of pounds of bananas in this household. So I think when you're thinking about how to grow food as it relates to dealing with inflation, think about first, what do you eat a lot? Pay attention to your meal planning and what you're buying at the grocery store. And the more you buy of the classic stuffs, the more you should grow of it. So the things like tomatoes and onions and peppers and carrots, and of course, pumpkins will actually help you insulate yourself from the impact of inflation going forward. Now you may wonder, you said, hey, Jacqueline, you're a big fan of sweet potatoes, but it stayed absolutely flat. Well, first of all, I still recommend growing sweet potatoes. The reality is that even though their cost has stayed the same, they're still pretty expensive per pound. 1. 2, they give you actually 2 types of crops. They can give you a spinach substitute along with the actual sweet potato. So they're kind of a 2-for-1 plant. 2, they can grow you a lot of pounds. So they can actually, while you may not be buying that many sweet potatoes today, if you start growing and harvesting a lot of sweet potatoes, you can bring your grocery costs down overall just because you don't buy other types of foods. And if you eliminate more expensive foods from your grocery bill, whatever they are, and you replace it with something like a sweet potato that you're growing at home, that's going to really, really help you with inflation going forward. Let's go and talk about what's going well here for me, what we're thinking about as we head into August, and let's make a game plan so that we got our kind of couple action items so that August can be a really productive month, even though it's ridiculously hot. And we can make sure that we got pounds and pounds of food coming in the future, even if it's not in July or August. And if you're needing help on what to grow and when to grow it, get your free seasonal gardening calendar. It's completely free. Inflation has not impacted it at www.wildfloridian.net/calendar. That's right, completely free. As we're considering what we should be doing throughout August, let me give you a couple tips and things to think about to keep you focused because it's hot out. I know. So first off, if you're wanting to make sure that you can have an awesome amount of harvest, we talked about this last month and I still continue to agree with this tip, get yourself some mulch, get ready. It's okay that your garden got out of control in the summer. Mine did too. So get ready to go do some pruning as we go through August. Get yourself some mulch. And yes, this is my neighbor's tree. Here, if you're curious about that. So Friday night, fun night. Tara and Ryan's pine has just taken over the road and almost crashed into Shane and Kim's truck and car, like literally inches. I cannot believe this happened. This is crazy. I'm not sure if we had lightning or something. Luckily, everyone's okay. So get ready to lay down a lot of mulch so that you can prep your soil as we get ready to head into the fall months. Tip number 2, make sure you're getting seeds. Here's the thing. You can't follow the big box stores. Home Depot and Lowe's, they follow the northern calendar, and that's fine for most of the country. But the reality is, if you go to Home Depot and Lowe's in August, you're gonna have very slim pickings of seeds, if any at all. Because basically the north is winding down. They're kind of over it with the gardening. Us, we're ready to go. So if you are gonna look at the big box stores, I will tell you, including things like Target, you will often find them at the bigger ones that they'll have the seed racks still out. But that doesn't mean you can't get seeds even if your local store doesn't have any. Want to, another nursery might have them. 3, you can order stuff online. I'm starting to use places like Southern Exposure. Of course, I've ordered stuff from Urban Harvest, and I'll give a list of some other seed places down in the description below. And if you are using other places, put it down below in the comments so that you guys can help each other out. Like, I've tried to help you, but I don't know everything. So give some other companies that have seeds that are really good. And we're looking for ones that, like Seminole pumpkins, right? We want to get those Everglades tomatoes, Cubanelles, kicking butt. They kick butt in spring, and now they're kicking butt in summer, and we're just gonna have more kind of the same weather. So another thing to make sure you're doing, this includes me, is take care of the plants that are gonna be producing in fall. So not all the fall producing plants are gonna get planted in August and September. Some of them are already planted. So things like my okra, can you see it? It's here, it's hiding. I thought the Cubanelles would die back, so I thought that they would be, you know, but my okra is starting to grow, and I actually have some okra right over here. Oop, I guess I missed a sunflower. But I don't know if you guys can see the sunflower, but we actually got some of our first flowers on our okra over here. So make sure you're taking care of those plants. Here you can see I got Puerto Rican black beans, got our first flower. That's very exciting. Loofah's finally taking off. I had to replant this stuff. It totally died out on me. I don't know if it was me. I don't know if it was it. I'm gonna blame it. But the loofah is starting to take off here. And the other thing is, my Seminole pumpkins are starting to bounce back. I haven't planted anything new, just the same ones. They keep going. Hiding in my bush again. They're up there. My one that's up in the front, don't know if it's gonna live. I keep accidentally stepping on it. So like I said before, it might not be that Seminole pumpkin's fault. It might just be me, because I keep forgetting it's there. It's hiding right there. And that one over there is starting to come back. So we got Seminole pumpkins that are already going. So make sure that you're taking care of the crops that you planted in the summer that will actually bring you early fall harvest. Don't let them die. Don't let them die. I know it sucks being out here. Now, you may have done this yet, but you still have time. They may not produce for you this year, but putting in things like your tropical edibles, right? Like my bananas here, I've been sitting here like, it's coming. And I called it. It like came out within a week of when I predicted it. So I've already got another bunch of bananas. My guess is a November harvest again, which that's cool. We'll take it. So make sure that if you want to get lots and lots of pounds, whether it's for this year or early next year, you can still get your tropical edibles in, such as sweet potato, bananas, papayas. You still got time. They will not necessarily produce this year, but early next year, you will definitely be getting a really good harvest. Another thing to consider, depending on how new or old your garden is, if you need any structures, I would definitely order them earlier in the season, because usually there's a good lead time, like with beds like this, of a couple weeks, unless you're gonna pick them up from in store. If you want the link for these, I'll put them down below, 10% off, because inflation. But a word of warning, it is so hot out. I will not be building any more beds. While we want to expand in the backyard, I'm not doing that until it cools down, because it's just too hot out right now to be doing major lifting and building of things. But if you're really wanting to get going a fresh start, though, I would recommend wait till late fall when it cools down a lot before you do things like trellises and garden beds. And another thing to consider, just something to consider, is one of the things I did see that was going up a lot was fresh herbs. So growing things like basil. Yes, my little basil here, actually I thought it would like died out, and it actually completely bounced back. I guess the Cubanelles being around it, it's very happy now. It's going to flower again, but whatever. I mean, it just keeps going. But fresh herbs went up a lot. I don't know if basil was just the only one that was indicative of it when I got the pricing, but it was up 150% over 2 years ago. That's a lot of money. So consider planting fresh herbs. But you can do a 2-for-1. I actually harvested a bunch of this right in last week's video. Bees balm is an oregano substitute. And I mean, these are still pretty, oh, that's not it, but this is, right? But they're still like, right, you can do a 2-for-1. And what I mean by that is by putting in something like this, the pollinators come in, and plants like your tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that need pollinators around. So get yourself some oregano-ish tasting native plant, get your pollinators some food, and then increase your harvest. So another thing to think about as we go into fall, because here's the thing, fall is a fabulous time for another round of Florida native wildflowers. So I strongly consider putting those in. I'm going to be. So get your mulch and soil ready. If you need to build a structure, get ready to do it, but don't do it in the middle of the day because that will suck. Take care of the plants that are already in the ground to make sure that they give you the harvest in fall. Get yourself some seeds, share with others. Plant some native plants so you can bring in pollinators. And last but not least, start building a plan. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to really focus in on what's the game plan for fall and what to plant, where I'm planting it. You know, that whole fun shenanigans. I know summer's a really, really hard time to do gardening. It doesn't matter what type, whether it's vegetables, wildflowers, any of it. It's hot, it's hard. But if you need some inspiration until our next video, go ahead and check out last month's harvest video and the month before. Hopefully they'll get you motivated to push on through. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.